miracle of human perfection.
Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I am so glad you all can join me. I am Shane, and this is a live call-in show. So for those who have already friended me on Facebook, I found the perfect use for Facebook Messenger. It's perfect for this. I never really used Facebook much, but figured I'd get some use out of it. So this is how we're doing it. And so for those who have already friended me, the lines are open for you. But in the meantime, let me pull in Josee. How are you, Josee?
I am doing great. How about you?
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I am just enjoying the Saturday night. Got those Saturday night love vibes going on, and yeah, just happy to be here. It is pretty late, but hey, we got the Aussie viewers that can join us now because it's like middle of the day for them. But of course, our European viewers, it's going to be middle of the night. Shout out to Fairy Frequency, Schmeenix, thanks for hopping in here, man. The Mandela Effect researchers. And, of course, Scott Light Warrior Craig. Namaste, my friend.
Fairy.
Just filling up with a bunch of love and a bunch of friends. This is awesome.
Yes. I love my new friends.
Yeah, last night was so fun. We even
yeah, I did.
I was gonna say a few of us got into Discord afterwards, but you were having fun in the chat, weren't you?
I had to take it. I had to take Discord off my daughter's laptop because it's an old dinosaur, and it was just not working. It would freeze up all the time. So.
Oh, really? You can actually get a free app for the phone. In fact, I didn't even know you can get it on the computer for a while. But it works.
Yeah, I don't do anything but talk on the phone, so it's
yeah, it's kind of like Messenger or something.
Maybe I'll try again.
And you can talk on there just like in Messenger as well.
Nice.
So yeah, it's awesome.
So, tell me.
Yeah. Had to get rid of that one. Sorry, my friend. I'm going to switch this for a minute to, let me see.
Well, guys, anyone want to call in, talk to Shane?
Yeah, if you want to call in, here are the instructions. It's pretty easy. You just friend me on Facebook, and then I will accept your request, of course, and we can talk live through Messenger. So that's perfect.
We'd like to hear your stories.
Yeah, call in with your stories or questions for the group. Anything you want. Let me check my Facebook. See who I got here. Oh, thank you, Kiera. Let me confirm that. Love to hear from you. Let's see. Okay, we are connected on Messenger if you'd like to call in. Kiera. I don't even know if you ever got your channel going again or not, but still, Kiera's the one that sent me, she sent me numerous things on like Twitter and stuff, but the one I did the video on with all the names of the celebrities that changed, that came from her. So big thank you.
Nice.
So hopefully that went through for you.
Schmanix is asking how's the weather in Tulsa.
Oh, we got a wintry mix moving in the area, man. So
Hi,
yeah, it's
Banjojo.
yeah, Banjojo, what is up? You know, you should probably friend me on Facebook so you can call in sometime, Banjojo, because you're just all over the place, but you never get to say anything. Oh, well, you get to chat all the time, but you know, it'd be cool to have you call in and uh, talk. Let's see here. Let me go to. Oh, well, I didn't mean to. Yeah, look at that beautiful sky. Let's see. I wanted to actually pull up here. Ah, we got Kiera calling in here.
I hear the phone.
You can hear it?
Yep.
Wow.
You can.
Okay, I'll call you right back when we're done.
Okay, bye.
How are you, Kiera?
Hey, talk about synchronicities. I just saw a comment about me talking to you, and here we are. How you doing?
Doing wonderful. Oh, did you see that comment? Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw it just before you went live.
Yeah, I was like, they probably don't know I already talked to you and stuff. So, but I gave them the big old heart because I totally
That's
agree.
awesome.
So, how are things going with you?
They're going pretty great. I just did a live chat over on Brian McFarlane's channel yesterday for like 2 hours. That was fun. It was
Oh,
a bunch
wow.
of Canadians.
Oh,
The
okay.
lovely Canadian crowd. Yeah, the Canadian affected.
Oh, yeah. I should probably let everybody know that this is actually. I can't even remember his name now because I'm thinking of the channel. Um, the girlfriend of. What's the channel?
Oh, no.
Oh, no?
I do research for Laszlo, for
Okay.
Laszlo's channel.
Ah, I
Yeah,
see.
so I help him out sometimes getting residue, stuff like that.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, but I have
Just
my
like
own
you do me.
channel.
Yeah.
Yes. I run the Mandela Effect researchers for Facebook.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
Nice.
and I do have a channel, but I'm just revamping all the videos right now. So the channel's there. It just we won't have the videos up for maybe February. I'm hoping for like the 1st. That's kind of the goal, is to get it done by the 1st. So the end
Ah,
of this month. Let's put it that way.
that's awesome. Well, tell me how you first realized the Mandela effect was happening.
This is it's a long story, so I won't bore everybody, but I got affected first in 1987 whenever a bunch of us in high school went over and we saw that McDonald's was McDonald's, no longer Mac. You know, like old MacDonald had a farm? That's
Yeah.
how I always knew it.
That's funny you
And
said that because when I saw people say that, I'm like, no, it wasn't. And then, but when I looked at it, it gave me childhood nostalgia for some reason. I'm like, why do I remember looking at it as a kid and seeing it that way? So that would make sense. It changed a long time ago.
it did for me, yeah, and I never saw it turn back. And then recently with, the coined term Mandela Effect and all that, and I was like, oh, I'm not the only one, so I'm not crazy. And people are calling it the Mandela Effect. So I started doing more research and things that I had noticed, but, Febreze and Sex and the City all of a sudden, Fruit Loops, Fair and St. Bears, the traditional ones that usually wake people up right away, the virgins to it.
Hmm.
It literally, I'm not kidding. I was like, oh, yes, I'm not crazy. I don't need to be in a padded room. These things I've seen over the years changing weren't just logo changes. They weren't just brand changes. So, yeah, it really, I took off the straight jacket and got to work researching. I felt so much better.
That's
Have you
awesome.
noticed a lot of name changes with people you actually know? Because my mom's maiden name just changed, and so has her memories.
Oh, wow, really?
And it's another Mac. It was Mac, and now it's Mick, MC.
Oh,
And it is
wow.
driving me nuts. They have totally different memories. They're not the same people. They have different personalities. And to me, that confirms parallel merges. Because I'm seeing too many personality traits and friends that have changed in personality, or people that have gone and suddenly aggressive and nasty that we're never, like, we're talking sweethearts that are all of a sudden ready to punch you in the face for just saying good day. I mean, it's getting really, it,
It's
ascension or
almost
whatever. This is getting crazy.
it's almost like a divide between people. Like, you know, the loving people are getting more loving, and the hateful people are getting more hateful. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like pushing everybody, you know, to the each end of the extreme. Because if someone doesn't see the Mandela effect, man, they have the most hateful comments. It's like, man, if you're not seeing
Oh
it, why are
yeah.
you even looking at these videos? You know what I mean? I get some of the same
Uh-huh.
people come back time and time again. I'm like, if you don't believe in it, why are you wasting so much time watching it, trying to convince yourself or what? You know?
I think they're angry because some people are seeing little changes, but they're so miffed by it because it's challenging their religion, their beliefs, their everyday existence. And that's what it does for me every day. It challenges me. When I see a U suddenly joining with an O, it challenges what just happened. Like, I can't help myself. My nails are filthy from digging in this rabbit hole, and I won't stop. I
Right.
just won't. And I see it everything from, you've seen it too, the Bible changes, the thinker. I mean, if he keeps it up, he's going to have his fist right down his throat. He won't stop. This is getting crazy. 3 thinker changes. I have seen Mandela himself die 3 times now in my life. And now with, there's internet hoaxes of, oh, this celebrity died, and then you look it up, oh, and he's still alive. People will dismiss the repeated deaths, like John Mahoney and all that there from Frasier. I
Yeah.
saw him die like 10 years ago. And when they announced he died again, I'm like, come on, this is getting to be a bit much.
Right. Yeah, the deaths are really something else. You know, it's just like, wow. Another one was the preacher, didn't he? I thought I'd heard of him dying, and then I found out he either died again or he's still alive. Billy Graham, I think.
Billy
Yeah.
Graham, he will be dead soon, and then that's when all this Antichrist stuff and everything's gonna happen. I'm telling you now, it's not gonna be pretty. Um, I'm somewhat of a psychic. I don't like tooting my own horn, but I have a lot of precog and everything. I always have since I was little. I mean, I remember being just learning to walk and knowing that there's more to this. I know it sounds weird, but I feel like I've really retained a lot of memories. So I
Hmm.
think we are being recycled. A lot of people go, oh, it's a matrix, it's this, it's about consciousness, but it's driving me nuts that, for instance, my family, and I'm going to use this as an example because I can, because, I can say it. It's a personal thing, but my mom's name changing. And the
Hmm.
reason why I noticed is my great aunt died again. And once again, 10 years ago, my Aunt Lillian died. And when my mom wrote me to tell me, I stared at the email for like 10 minutes. Like, this isn't right. I'm like, she died. This is not right. It once again floored me. And I had a client whose son died December 18th in 2016. And when he died, it was a horrible accident, ATV accident at her home. And then Easter weekend, I saw a time blip. It happened again. And I'm like, wait, she buried him. There was a funeral. I'm seeing people commenting on Facebook to her that are on my friends list that gave her condolences the last time he passed away. And these things really, really, sorry, my dogs are all excited.
I was
They
like,
really, they test your sanity. Because if it wasn't for creating my group like I did, and we're just over 1,500 members now, and no troll zone too for anyone listening if you want to join. We boot those trolls. We boot the naysayers that are cruel because I don't have the same memories as say somebody else, but that doesn't mean we don't share a bond of something's going on, Berenstain and whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? Looney Tunes versus Looney Tunes. But we need to have all of us join together, figure this out together, compare notes, and keep going strong with these changes. I don't think it's all about, oh, this letter's missing, so let's add up these letters and see what it spells out. I really do think this is it's ascension. I really feel that's what's going on,
I
heading into
really,
the fourth dimension, whatever it is.
right. I really feel like once you see this as a positive thing, it's really a confidence or a faith booster because you realize that this higher force that's looking out for us can change our reality right before our very eyes. So what do we really need to worry about? I mean, I think of that scripture of Jesus about moving mountains, and now we got rainbow mountains. So not only can they move them, they can make a rainbow mountain appear. Or I don't know if it was there
Oh
before,
yeah.
but that's just amazing stuff. And
Oh, all the rainbow things like you had with the blue wave and all that. It's true. There's crystal, there's everything. It's just it seems to be new floods of animals. I just looked up mammals that lay eggs
hmm
because I knew of like anteater and platypus. Now there's tons. There's so many, and I'm like, they were not there.
hmm
Animals that were extinct are now back. So there's good and of course there's bad. And this is where I'm going to let in on something that really bothers me. I'm an artist. I noticed my hands changed. And when my hands changed, I saw my thumbs were much lower, way lower. I actually have photographic residue. I'm sure of it. I am so sure of it because I'm holding a baby bunny and my thumb, I did a line across from the knuckle of the thumb to the index knuckle, and it's a lot shorter than it is now because now I can do a complete circle from thumb to index. You can never do circles before, at least I couldn't. So with that being said, with all this talk about the mark of the beast, putting in that chip, to me, there's a lot more flesh there. It's webby. So is that why we're shifting into this zone where they're going to be doing all this?
I have
Putting
noticed them
in implants?
putting those trackers right there in that spot you're talking about, that hollow area, because it won't really interfere with any bones or anything like
Yeah,
that.
it's fleshy now.
Yeah.
Before when I was reading about all this agenda stuff, and I was like, oh, is it conspiracy? Is it going to happen? It feels like it's going to happen in my gut. And when I looked at my thumbs before the shift, I was like, you know what? That's pretty weird. I don't have very much room there. So if they try to do that to me, where are they going to put it, right? And
hmm
now it's fleshier. There's a bit of a webbing there. It's scary stuff. It really is.
I'm starting to realize though that with the changes and stuff, everything just has began to look orchestrated to me. Like I know it looks chaotic, but it's almost like design chaos, like an illusion of chaos. I really don't feel like the entropy is as bad as it seems. You know, we've got bad players on the scene, playing their roles well, and you know, the better they play, the better the heroes look. You know, it's like a big play. So I
Mhm.
don't know. That's just how I see it. I see it as a positive thing that, you know, there's no way we're going to lose. It's just
It's
part of
all
the.
about raising our frequencies of love and positivity. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you walk into, say, work, and everybody's negative and they're, oh, I don't want to be here, and they're miserable. And you were like happy when you woke up, you heard your favorite song, you go into work and they're miserable. As an empath, I absorb that negativity. And when you're sitting there absorbing it,
hmm
and it literally it brings you down. And with so much negative in, I don't watch TV, but in the media and the way people are, like I said, the troll zone, the way people treat each other online and all that negativity, it brings down your frequency. It makes people more negative, more nasty, more dependent on antidepressants and all these type of things, right? And then
hmm
that lowers more frequency. And the Earth's in trouble with that because too many people are spouting off at each other when what they really need to do is just take that breath, clear your mind, meditate, learn to love, learn to settle down your hormones a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Watch some Shane and get some good frequencies going. These people
I
are
appreciate
these
that.
people are just they're out for blood. I'm telling you, it's getting terrible out there. I can't even go into a Walmart without having a panic attack with the way people are acting.
Oh yeah, it's like getting to be like Christmas season all the time with the way people act. It seems like.
Hmm. Oh, the latest gadget. Oh, what did the media say about that? Let's run out and get that stupid thing so it can become a dust collector, and we have to get the next upgrade. You know, this people need to get back to Earth. They really do. They need to zone back with nature. And I run an animal rescue, so I'm covered in nature right now. Everything from birds to mice. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? They just really need to reconnect with family and put those cell phones down. But not yet, guys. Listen first, then you can.
I've actually felt like, when we find our differences, one of the ways that helps me sort of rise above the separation is if, like for instance, one of the really hot topics it seems people get so vicious about is the whole globe and flat Earth thing. And if
Oh
globers
yeah.
would sort of imagine what it would take to believe in the flat Earth, and flat Earthers would imagine what it would take to believe in the globe Earth again, that would increase the empathy towards each side instead of these vicious things that people say. It's
Oh, I know. I see it, and they all have nicknames for each other, and they all attack each other. And I had to put a ban on talking about it in my group because if one person brings it up, then it starts bringing up religion. But then another person gets offended with that because they don't believe in God or whatever,
hmm
and it just, like I said, lowers frequency. So I just find that, you know, the flat Earth theory as well as the globe theory, because I'm going to call it a theory right now. Until anyone can disprove the other, I think everyone can just believe what they want. They're entitled to, like a religion, to believe in what they feel works for them.
and not
Because until
fight
the, you
over
know,
it, you know.
yeah, there's no reason to fight over it. That would be like me being mad because my cousin's Jewish and I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, it's to each their own, really, honestly. I'm vegan. I don't go and cover myself in, in red paint and yell at steakhouses. To each their own.
Exactly. That's so funny. It's such a well, I guess it's a really important issue to some people, but it's not like, feeding starving children or something worth actually saying we need to feed these kids. It's like our energy could be used in a much better way than to fight over something that no one can prove. If we could prove it, or somebody could say, all right, go in my spaceship and we'll go look and settle this right now. But until that comes, just respect each side of the table on that view.
I 1,000,000% agree. I do not bash either side because I don't, like I said, my nails are dirty from digging. I've looked into the flat earth theory. I
Yeah.
have famous friends that believe in the flat earth theory. And I mean, they can give me evidence and I will look at that evidence, but it's up to me as a person to say, you know what, that works for my beliefs. That
hmm
I can get on board with that. It's the same with any religion. That's why a lot of people throughout their lives will actually switch religions
Yep.
because they feel, oh, well, I want to be, I'm into being a Buddhist now. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, well,
Right.
sort of. But it's to each their own. It's what works. And I'm just finding on the internet, I have been bashed and attacked and everything by people so shocked when I was like, oh my gosh, Fruit Loops wasn't just a cutesy name change with the two O's for kids. I saw that in 2010. And same with like the Oscar Mayer thing wasn't a name change or a brand change, whatever. It's an actual like owner's name itself change. And I started posting it on my personal Facebook. And I had nothing but attacks when I saw the anatomy changes because I do personal training and I was so fascinated. I'm like, oh, the skull, oh, look at the holes. And one of the girls that I did art for is a mortician, and she attacked me on it. She's like, it always has been that way. You're crazy, Kiera. What's wrong with you? And I said, oh, but this is new for me. And I'm trying to explain parallel changes because when I did voting, she had voted with the old parallels, as I call it, the old Earth, I'll say.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe I can get her to understand what I'm talking about. So I screenshotted, and then sure enough, the skull changed, and there's more holes added. And I said, oh, check this out. You got to check this out. And I tagged her. You know what she said?
What?
She did the stop drinking the Kool-Aid, I'm crazy, and then she blocked me. And I'm like, you know what? Not everyone's meant to see it. And after her little blow up, I also realized that a lot of the people that are in the medical field, if they haven't been retired for a certain amount of time, I think it's quite blatantly obvious that if a doctor is doing open heart surgery and the heart's now more centered, that he doesn't open somebody up and go, huh, I thought it was to the left, It's like,
I
I think
noticed it
they
dropped a
literally
little bit.
move within, yeah, yes,
It went down
yes,
a little
and
bit
the
for me.
stomach's up higher, and
It's weird.
yeah, it did.
So it's moved twice for me now. It was like way on the left, like 3 fingers beneath the nipple originally for me, and
Hmm.
then it moved really high in the chest, and now I noticed it dropped down a little bit towards the stomach. It's almost at the level it used to be, but still in the center.
Hmm.
It's like
It is.
wild.
I
And then
know.
the intestines are all different. There's a channel for you, if you guys don't know about it. It's called Once Upon a Timeline that I just came across in the last week. And she covers a lot of cool stuff about the body changes. And so if you don't know about that, she talks about the bones and stuff like that. I really enjoy her channel. And it's a really small channel, so the chances that you don't know about it are pretty high. But love the channel.
Oh yeah, make sure to put the link in the description if you're going to be doing that, because people will need to check that out.
Yeah.
Because yeah, having taken anatomy, when I saw it change, I've seen it 3 times officially now, and I'm sure there'll be another time, just like the thinker. His knuckles are going to be right down his throat because he won't stop gnawing on them. I think he's stressed out. But yeah, like it's getting really odd. And when I saw the art changes too, there was no dismissing that. I mean, just like you and the thinker, you know, I studied that too as an artist, and seeing that change, I saw white. I was shocked when I
Yeah.
saw her head turn for the American Gothic.
Oh my
Once
God,
again,
yeah.
I was floored, and oh, the creation of man, all those things, just seeing them change, it literally, I felt a little lost for a little bit. About a week I had problems even eating.
It
I
is
eat a lot.
creepy. It's creepy when you know what
Yeah.
the Mona Lisa looked like, and now she's smiling at you. You're like, what the hell? And then the head
hmm
turning. Oh my gosh.
We had to study that. We had to explain, why was it called that? Why is it more like a, not even a smile? And was it a man dressed up and blah, blah, blah. Like, we had all these theories growing up on it. And then to see that, and of course, if you look at the Mandela groups, a lot of people that want to dismiss it say, well, you know, there's so many versions, who cares? Oh, all right, well, let's not look into it.
I had somebody say the same thing about the thinker. They were like, well, you know, there were some knockoffs going around in the 70s. You probably
hmm
got one of them. And it's like, but I
Yeah.
saw it change. It's like, oh
Oh,
gosh, it's so
yeah.
weird.
Yeah, my daughter, she's 10 and she's extremely awake. She's more like she's 20, and she she saw the thinker change, and she was watching a SpongeBob episode where Patrick quickly carves out, he's doing art and he carves out the thinker, and she puts it on pause. It's on Netflix, and she runs up to me. She says, "Mom, get in here. This is a Mandela Effect. It's so important. You have to see this." And I walk into the bedroom, and she points at the TV, and she goes, "It changed in my show too." It's like, I said, "Yeah, because that's what's current to this parallel." So I said, "Hun, it's going to be hard to find residue on that unless it's an artist rendering from how, like, the person from that, as I call it, old Earth recalls it. It's not going to be on the forehead anymore, covering the third eye." And she's like, "Well, it should have or it shouldn't have changed because that was my show."
And but
But it just,
I love the residue with that, where you got all these people posing next to it, and it's just so wild to me that they've still got it on their head, but the statue changed. It's like really 18 softball students or softball team girls are seeing it wrong and posing wrong next to it. You know, it's
oh,
just
I know. That's what's eerie, is seeing it change with that, or standing in front of the Statue of Liberty. I just found residue of Statue of Liberty with the opposite arm up in my own collection. I couldn't
oh
believe it. My
really?
old jewelry box. Yeah, I'll send you a picture of it. It's unbelievable. So the arm was the other arm, and I went in about 1989, and it was for the Batman Returns premiere,
Hmm.
and I remember being very annoyed because my dad was talking about Ellis Island, going to see Statue of Liberty, and then when he's talking about Liberty Island, I said, "Well, it's a Statue of Liberty. Why isn't she on Liberty Island?" And let me tell you something, Shane. I am more annoyed now that she moved to Liberty Island, but I still have this residue of a Hard Rock Cafe pin I got as a souvenir there, and it's the other arm.
That's wild.
The other arm's up, the way I remembered. Yeah, it's really weird. So it
So,
was the other arm. There was never a bombing for me, and my parents went up in the torch. So
right.
all that's
Do they still
different
remember
for
going
us.
up in it or no?
No, my parents, they're in their 70s and they're very on awake, and my mom's changed completely. It's a different version. Like I said, different maiden name, different memories.
I've heard about
You
that.
know, a lot
People
of people.
say, well, we were gonna go, but they had it closed for cleaning that day, or they'll have an excuse. It's like, no, you went up in it, you know. But that's wild. So that's it's. I'm so glad I got you on here because not many people have seen all these changes until recently. But you saw that one, and evidently I did too, and I didn't realize it that McDonald's had changed because it totally reminded me of getting out of church with my dad and going by there, and I totally remember it having the MAC in there now. So
Hmm
Do you
It
think
did.
it's been changing more recently, or just people are noticing it and comparing notes more? What do you feel about that?
I think basically what's going on is I'm kind of on with the theory of the 144,000 light workers and stuff because since I was little, I keep having, I won't get into too much personal detail, but with my precog and everything, and I'd even know before a family member would tragically die or a friend or whatever, I've always had that, like always. And it would freak my parents out to the point where when I knew about my grandfather and after it happened, my dad just looked at me, shook his head, and walked away and hasn't talked to me since. He's one of those because he
Wow.
thinks it's almost like it's like witchery for me to be able to foresee things. And my mom said, just ignore it. It's because he has such a hard time with what I can do and what I've brought forth because I do readings for people. And I'll do it online and free. I never charge anybody because I don't believe in charging for a gift. And it bothers him that much that he feels like almost like I could be causing it to happen. He's one of those old school type people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I've never had a good relationship with him as it is to discuss it. But the last thing I finally got him to say is I said, when we were growing up, we watched Twilight Zone and we watched it as a family. Hey Dad, do you remember, was it Sterling or Serling? And he wrote back, he goes, it's always been Serling. And when you get the it's always been, you kind of know where you stand with people, right? You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I felt really hurt. I was like, well, there goes that. And my mom, the only thing she noticed was Lord's Prayer changed. We attended a funeral together, and afterwards she got mad. And she said, oh, I don't like how they changed the Lord's Prayer. And I said, Mom, did you see the book we read from? It's from 1963. And she goes, and I said, you know how I've been discussing with you about Mandela effects and the Limburg baby? Because Limburg baby's the only thing that she and I have in common is she remembers he was never found. It was a huge whodunit.
Right.
And when she did, well, what can we do about it? And she did one of those. and it's like since then it's just been like I really sadly just don't have any relationship with my family because they think I'm nuts. They really do.
I
But we
totally
have
get
so
it.
many people in the community discussing the exact same memories, and for people to say it's false, and for me to see Chuck E. Cheese flip back and forth a few times, and I would post it. I'd say, hey, everybody, look, it's Chuck E. Cheese now. Oh, check it out. And I have coin residue. And they're like, huh? What's wrong with you? You're crazy, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden it flipped back and went to Chuck E. Cheese's. Look, everybody, and they're just like, it always has been. You're the same person that told me it wasn't. So I feel like only a certain amount of us are going to continue on this path and stay awake because we're meant to. We're meant to ascend. I feel we've done this before. I feel like it's almost like a recycling of our consciousness until, we meet up with our higher self or whatever it is, because it's hard to really put a finger on exactly what it is. We only have theories and we can juggle ideas of what's going on in the changes, but only a certain amount are going to stay awake. I really don't feel it's going, I think changes will become more apparent to someone like you and I and others that keep seeing it. And because around 2010 when I really noticed stuff picking up, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And seeing repeats of deaths that I couldn't dismiss. It wasn't until the time blips of seeing people re-dying within my family and name changes that I said, you know what, there's no way. I can't dismiss this now. There's no turning back for me. I'm just going to keep digging, keep searching, keep checking up name changes and everything, because it's in my nature, this curiosity of what does this all mean and what does life exactly mean? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're talking about Rod Sterling, and I wanted to ask you, when do you know that changed? Because I remember watching, I didn't know who that was, but I remember watching something as a kid in the 80s, and I think it was one of Eddie Murphy's stand-up comedy things. I just know it was Eddie Murphy. I don't remember exactly where he said it. It could have been in one of his movies or one of his stand-ups, but he said Rod Serling because his mouth looked kind of funny at the time when he said it. But could it have changed in the 80s too? Or do you remember it being Sterling later than the 80s,
Well, this
personally?
is going to sound weird, but I believe that when you see some of these name flip-flops, like I've seen Reba McEntire change. It looked like Joey McIntyre's name,
Mm-hmm.
the same spelling. And I remember in school, girls saying, "Oh, I think Reba McEntire is related to cute Joey McIntyre from the New Kids," because it's the exact same last name. But now her name is E.N. Tire, like a tire on your car, you know?
Right. Or
And
like
that
the
changed for
entire
me.
show or the entire something. Yeah.
hmm It's flip-flopped for me. And the fact that it's flip-flopped tells me that somehow my consciousness has been, as I call it in one of my avatars, literally like a close parallel where I've seen that. So maybe I somehow my consciousness jumped to like that type of avatar where that's where how it was spelt. So like the Courteney Cox now, you know what I mean? Where it's a 10?
Yeah.
Courteney Cox? I've never seen that before. That's a new one for me. But no, I've seen McIntyre change twice now. So to me, when you look into her history and she's never had her name changed to that,
Yeah.
that tells me I visited twice to a parallel that had that. I'd love to see Oscar Mayer switch back. As for Sterling, that was new for me as of recently.
Mm-hmm.
I always knew it as Sterling, like sterling silver, you know?
Yeah. That's what
I
they're
always
saying in the
related it to
chat.
silver.
And for me, like you were saying with the comparison, I remember at one point looking up to see if Keanu Reeves and Christopher Reeves were related because of the name. I was like, I wonder if that's like a nephew or something. And because I did a shirt for a customer and their name was Reeves, and I don't know, for some reason I remember looking it up at that time. And I remember Eminem always using Christopher Reeves in his freestyles. Like, why does he use Christopher Reeves so much? In fact, you can go and look it up on YouTube, and somebody's compiled all of the times he's used Christopher Reeves, because it was like one of the words in his head when he's freestyling that he would go to a lot or whatever.
He did. I know. There's a lot of swears, but yeah, you can look it up. It's there. I have one little personal story about that. I have too many, so you can stop me at any time. But my parents worked for Marvel and DC Comics. That's why I was in New York for '89, was for the premiere of Batman Returns or whatever. And this is the thing. They also knew Reeves. We got pictures with Reeves. It was Reeves. And when I mentioned it to my mom, she just shook it off. Yeah, and it was kind of like, you're shaking it off. You know what I mean? That would be like when we met Adam West, that would be like him all of a sudden being Weast or something and still being alive. Like, but no, they just shrugged it off. It was nothing.
And that's funny
Here's
because
the crazy one.
the actor that played Superman, the original one's name was Reeve, and now it's Reeves. It's like they swapped. It's like, so all the
really
people
weird.
that thought, all the people that would compare them and thought, well, I know one was Reeves and one was Reeve, they'll just look at it and think they got them backwards now. You know what I mean? Because of them both changing, and they're still opposites.
You got it. Exactly. That's what I got when I compared that. Exactly. Same example.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know the
That's
first
exactly
guy was
what they
Reeve.
do.
So it can't be a confusing thing for me because I never even knew the first one's name, I only knew Christopher.
I did only because of my family's history with dealing with so much with DC and Marvel, or I wouldn't have known. But I often wonder if, like even for instance with you and Art, if we were supposed to hang on to these certain things, sort of like the JFK, because I had to study in that in school and I found it pretty boring, and we had to do like all this like, oh, what do you think happened, and what do you think this, and study the film and watch the JFK films, and it was boring to me. But now, because of having to do that for like a week in school, it got ingrained in my memory. And you'd also see it, of course, in documentaries. I'm kind of one of those documentary buffs, you know what I mean? So when I saw Egypt change, it was very noticeable to me, like the Sphinx and that.
Yeah.
But I just found it really, really odd that stuff that we had engraved as boredom, but into our mindset. And then when I saw the JFK footage change, color and all that, it threw me. Like, it was very shocking to see it in color, to see 6 people in a car that has a divider. And
Yeah.
Yeah, it really
It was
bothered
for
me
my wife
terribly.
too. Man, her eyes got so big when she looked at it, and I saw the shock in her eyes, and I was like, "See?" And we knew there was only one woman in the car. There were several key things about that whole thing that you knew for sure. You knew for sure there was one woman in the car. You knew for sure that bar wasn't on there. You knew for sure there wasn't 3 rows of people. And then just the way, one of the weird parts about that is this guy that studied that whole shooting thing and studied the way just the single frames of the moment he got shot and everything, he noticed that Jackie was doing something different. But for him, he thought he remembered it always being 6 people in the car. So he noticed, he studied her so closely that he saw that she was doing something different, but yet his mind accepted the update about it going from 4 to 6 people in the car, which is just wild. You know what I mean?
It is. I have interviewed and talked to people that have recalled 3, 4, and 6, and on occasion 5, but they usually change their mind and say, "Oh no, I think yeah, I'm just forgetting this person, the wife or whatever." But when I watch now, there's a huge glitch, and it brings me back to the Matrix where it says, or were you paying attention to the lady in the red dress? If you
Hmm.
watch the lady on the knoll there in a red dress just before he gets shot, there's a glitch. And
Mm.
the blood spray is really, graphic for anyone that can't handle blood, even though it's older footage. It's still pretty gory.
Yeah.
But when he gets shot, there's a glitch there. You don't see the blood spray disappears, and then she climbs on the back, and it looks like she's grabbing like maybe the shells or something. So there's theories she shot him.
Hmm.
Anything's possible at this. It might change next week. We don't know.
I heard it was the
But
top of his head she was grabbing too.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
just
it looks
weird.
really weird. And I think he wore like a brace or something, and that's why they said he couldn't bend forward.
Hmm.
Like there's something about some kind of back brace or something. But anyways, yeah, so with JFK, and I have so many people in my group that discuss it, and there's a lot of different variations. Like I said, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. So the numbers keep changing.
Hmm.
Oh, and I wanted to ask you something. When you're discussing with other people, do you ever notice, for instance, because I have theories on this, I get people that come in and they say, "Oh my goodness, Fruit Loops just changed. It was FROOT the other week, and now it's fruit." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm all excited." I go and I Google it, and of course it's still double O, and it has been, since 2010 for me. And I'm like, "Oh, but it still says this." Really? Then they go and check, and they're like, "Oh, it didn't, blah blah blah." And then I have other people saying, "Oh, it just changed to fruit double O," as an example. I'm using Fruit Loops.
Hmm.
And then I'll go look, and I'm like, "Okay, you just noticed this change?" And like, "Yeah, I was at the grocery store yesterday buying it, and it just changed for me." And if you're taking their word on it, and it just changed for these people,
Yeah.
they're coming in from another parallel, do you know what I'm saying? Or are we
Hmm.
discussing things online, and Wi-Fi is somehow, because it's the same setup, there's a theories with CERN, are we somehow connecting to other parallels via the web? I know that might sound a little crazy, but everything does at this point, because that's what it feels like.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because how
Definitely.
are they coming in all of a sudden and saying, "Oh, it just changed"? But for me, myself, I keep eyes on certain ones like Flintstones to Flintstones, and they haven't changed yet for me.
That exact thing happened with someone that's actually, they were in the chat. I don't know if they left, but Metal Rabbit, she was in the Aldi and saw the Febreze and it had changed back to the double E. She took a picture of it and got home to send it to me. And when she opened it to send it, she said it had changed back again, even in the picture that she took, because she was thinking she had proof of the way it used to be. And
That's wild.
yeah, that's super wild. And I told her, I'm like, I've actually been in the store and thought it changed back until I looked closer. She said, "Well, no, I actually pulled my phone out and took a picture of it. I know it was right because, you
Yeah,
know,
you wouldn't deny something as like 2 E's.
yeah, if you're looking for that, you know what I mean." So she saw it switch, and then when she pulled the picture out to send it to me, it switched back, and I'm like, that is just wild, you know.
Yeah, you're around my age group. Do you remember the commercials for that Tidy Bowl? That stuff
Mm-hmm.
for toilets.
Yeah.
Do you remember how it used to be spelled?
Mm. Just normal TIDY, right?
Yeah, it was. It was tidy and bowl, like BO, WL.
Yeah.
And now it's TY BOL dash, you know, like it's really weird.
What?
It's like tidy. Yeah, it changed, and I
No.
checked.
It wasn't
I
misspelled
checked
in
all.
any way.
Yeah, it was not this weird creative spelling
Yeah.
slang, you know what I mean? But you know, it changed, and
That's
I
how
checked old
whiteout is.
commercials.
That's just weird.
hmm
Whiteout being
Yeah,
lit up.
whiteout, whiteout, 100% had a W.
Yeah.
My friend was addicted to using that. I think he was getting high off it or something. But yeah, in school, everyone had the whiteout, so there's no dismissing. And when I saw that change, I thought it was just another cutesy thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Same way
until I
here.
got online and saw other people comparing, hey, what happened to George's tail?
Yeah. Yeah,
Really
that's just
weird.
wild. Yeah, I found a picture of him hanging by his tail and doing a face, and I was like, I remember him doing that.
He did. He used to swing on his tail all the time. He wasn't the curious little chimp. He was a curious monkey. This is craziness.
And I remember the that episode with all of the donuts where he had
Yeah, he
accidentally.
was putting them on his
Yeah,
tail.
he was putting them on his tail, and I haven't gone back to watch it, but I remember him like having them on his tail. He like had them everywhere in both hands and
He
on
did.
feet and everything. So
He did. That's right.
that's just
Yeah, no, my
weird.
my daughter remembers it too. My daughter, I asked her, and she remembers it. We were watching Looney Tunes, and at the end of it, when it said tunes like, show tunes,
Yeah,
she and I both looked at each other and we're like, well, that's different. That ain't right.
yeah, really.
So
And that's what we're
yeah, we
dealing with here
saw it.
with these trying to ascend to a higher frequency. We're trying to leave this Looney Tune frequency we're in, I think.
Oh, just got to keep positive, listen to music that makes you feel good, and eat closer to the earth and not so much garbage. And it tends to keep frequencies high. We kind of need to with all this chemtrailing and negative attitudes from people and people doping themselves up to try to make it through the day, or caffeine. I've never
Yeah,
even tried coffee in my life, but literally you can just see they're struggling just to get out of bed, just to go to work. There's way too much negative.
yeah,
I've never seen so much animal abuse and horrors just even online. I'm constantly having to go, oop, got to block that off my feed. I can't look at that because as an empath, if I see anything to do with anything against a child or an animal, I can't seem to remove that image, and it affects me deeply. So I just feel like this realm is just filled with it.
Oh yeah, that's how I am with the whole Pizzagate thing. I can only see
Me
so
too.
much of it.
It's really hard.
I've just gotta, I mean, I know it's happening. I don't need to look into it anymore because, man, it's hard to get those images out of your head. I got 5 kids, so it's like
hmm
you just imagine the torture they're going through, and it's just hard to keep your vibes up when you've had that on your mind. So,
Exactly.
so be
And as
aware of
soon as
it,
I
but
see
not
anybody
dwell on
doing
it.
that, no, I can't see any of those type of things.
Yeah.
I'm not turning a blind eye, let's
hmm
put it that way, but my eyes see deeper than some others, and it really affects me. Like I can't shake it off. I literally will have nightmares. It's that bad.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm pretty good
hmm
with pushing it away if I catch it quick enough. It's kind of like whatever you plug into the system. That's why I don't watch certain things like scary movies, and it's not that I'm scared of it. It's just a lot of them are so evil seeming that it's like, why do I want to fill myself with that? You know what I mean?
Exactly. No, I totally get what you're saying. I literally have a huge 52-inch dust collector in my living room. As soon as I started seeing more and more changes, and it really started affecting me in the sense of I need to know what's going on now that I've met more people with the same memories and the JFK thing, because that changed for me in 2016.
hmm
And then 2017, it really ramped up. I mean, I've been flooded with changes constantly, like every day. That's not even a joke. Everything from logos to whatever, and I quickly check. And if it's always been that way, I post it because it's just like, whoa. And no, I won't turn on my TV. If I do, I go to the radio station and I listen to like, whatever, one of those like where they just keep playing the same like 20 popular songs. I
Yeah.
can't. I just can't. I can't watch the news. Most media is just filled with garbage ways. It's false junk.
Yeah.
I'm an actress, and I haven't even bothered to go to any auditions or anything either for a year. I can't. Last thing I did was some Suicide Squad in Toronto, and that was it.
hmm
I don't want to be around it. It affects me that bad now, knowing what's going on and feeling what I feel, that I rather, on my downtime, research. That's all I do. I even go through old books I had, stuff like that, and look for changes.
Me too. Yeah, I'm totally into looking up what's going on, and there's so many YouTubers now that, gosh, there's just so much to watch. I've had to start, some of the ones I like are 2 hours long, so I've had to either speed it up to 1.5 or 2 times speed to fit in all I want to watch in time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good
Well, that's
tool.
what I do too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I like Jacob Israel and obviously Laszlo's stuff and your stuff I love, and Impossible Channel. He usually puts up some good information and stuff to help debunk or give you something to think about. So those type of channels are the ones I find I gravitate towards. And then, of course, meditation. Anything meditation music and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. So have you noticed any manifestations of any new gifts or anything like that? Of course, you said you're already sort of psychic. Has that seemed to increase at all for you, or third eye action?
It has increased quite tremendously. There's certain things I won't say and certain things I will say. I've always had the precog where I'll have the same dream 3 times in a row, and whatever that dream is telling me is what's going to happen. I get psychic visions of earthquakes and where it's going to happen, and I post it to my Facebook and warn people. And because it kept coming true, I had to make it public so people could share it. And then I'd get like people writing me saying, "Oh God, do you see anything from my area?" I'm like, "You're fine, it's okay," because I have such tremendous precog. I really do. It's kind of creepy. A girl contacted me about pregnancy. She was having issues with it, and I said, "Have you had a C-section?" She said, "No." And I said, "Well, I keep seeing a C-section." And she's like, No, the doctor said everything's fine." I said, "Okay, but I keep seeing preeclampsia and a C-section." And sure enough, I got an email saying, "Oh, you were right, Kiera. I ended up having to have a C-section, preeclampsia, blah, blah, blah." It's that strong now, and it was always kind of there, but now I feel like I have 2 theories. Either A, I'm psychic, or I'm reliving the exact same path, and that's why I'm kind of remembering it. I know it sounds a little odd to say it that way. I'm not about to play the lottery anytime soon because I'm not about ego, right? And I don't believe that you can benefit yourself in that sense. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like that's a selfish, ego way to deal with a gift. That's why I don't charge people for things,
Right.
But I just find it really odd because when I was younger, I used to do a certain hum frequency, and it affected my lights. And
Oh, wow.
my dad caught me doing it and gave me, hell over it, excuse my language, and I stopped doing it because I was embarrassed that I got caught. And then I started redoing that last summer, and I filmed myself. I was walking around, and I was shutting and turning off lights, and I posted it to Facebook, and I posted it actually to my channel. I'll re-upload that one. And I literally, for some reason, can tune into frequencies. I burned out the lights in my living room. I actually fried my wires. I don't know what I did, but I believe we're all capable if we can tap into it. And
Yeah, me
so
too.
that's about the only gift that I've always had that I was able to seem to increase. That and the precog, I find is way stronger in whatever reality this is.
Yeah, both of those things you mentioned, I know one person, Diane, who affects electronics all the time, and said sometimes she'll knock out the credit card machine when she goes into the store, or someone else, Prescott, that he's in the chat quite a bit, but he sent me some pictures, videos where he's controlling the lights, making them get brighter and dimmer, and the street lights
Yeah,
and
that's
things
what I
like
do.
that. Yeah, it's amazing.
Streetlights.
Yeah.
I think it's something to do with a control of our frequencies and our vibrations. It's like, I think I emit more than others because I get a lot of people drawn to me. It's kind of weird. It's like I can, Walmart is an example. I was at a Walmart and a lady was buying some fabric, and there was a total vibe about her that she really needed me right then and there. And I walked over and I just spit out exactly what I saw, and I said, "Did you just lose your mom?" And she's like, "Yeah, I just lost my mom." And she instantly starts bawling at me, and I said, somebody's saying Anna baby, Anna baby, and she starts crying. She's like, that's my dad. And I'm like, okay, well, obviously they're fine and they know you need them, but just know they're okay. And that's the most I can do for her, is because that's all I saw in my head, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I feel like there's this weird draw to people, but they're having it to me. And the ones that seem to have it to me, whether it's on Facebook or even in person, are ones that are affected. Because it turned out this lady's now on my friends list, and I talk to her sometimes, and she sees stuff. She sees the changes. So I feel like we're all kind of have a different light about us that is kind of connecting us,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sort of like the synchronicities that I see that comment, and all of a sudden you say, hey, Kiera, give me a call. And I'm like, well, that's convenient. I'm right here.
That's awesome. Yeah, I got that earlier today, and then I saw you hop in there, and then I saw your invite, and then the caller I was going to have that fell through. He's going to join us on the next show. So yeah, it worked out perfect. You're the person that was supposed to be on tonight. Let's put it that way.
I am pleased. I am so pleased to talk to you, because I was a fan. I was following you right basically from the beginning, and I always enjoyed your videos and the deciphering and the narrative and all that of the Mandela. I was like, I resonated with it. I was like, yes, that's it. That's how I feel. So I think it's just really cool to talk to you.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I going back to earlier, I checked my both my parents' death certificates and birth certificates, looking for name changes or changes in dates and things like that, and nothing had changed. But I haven't gone back. For some reason, I feel like once you check something, you don't have to check it anymore. But you kind of got to stay on top of that stuff, because you never know. It could be one way one day and then and change the next day. Because the body, I sort of left that alone, and the body has changed more than it had the first time I looked. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all these changes.
Oh, it's 100%. It's a change. I had a scar on my ring finger in the shape of a teardrop, and it disappeared all the way from, it was probably about the end of June. And because I got it when I was really young, about grade 1, I thought, oh, maybe it's just faded. Oh, but everybody's talking about scars moving. I checked all my fingers. I showed people that knew me, and they said the same. They're like, yeah, you did have a scar there. Huh, was it faded? I'm like, yeah, but my surgical scar from when I had knee surgery back when I was 16, you can still see that. That's still there. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, but it's different. This doesn't make sense. And I left it alone. And then in November, I went to put a ring on, and the scar was back. I'm like,
oh, wow.
Hey, everybody, guess what? The little teeny scar, it's back. And they're looking at me like, yeah. And a couple of people that remembered said, oh, that's really weird. But they always just say that. That's really weird. No, this is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Why would it disappear and then reappear? As for what you just mentioned about your parents and that, it's interesting, because whenever my great aunt died again, she had been in my grandmother's memorial book. And it had the pre-death date and all that, and it changed. It wasn't there anymore. And a picture of myself and my daughter that wasn't in it before is now in it. So there was some changes in the memorial book. So yeah, you should at least once a month, take a little peek at stuff like that, because it could change. Because seeing my mom's maiden name change from Mac to McMillan was really, yeah, it threw me.
Yeah, the personal ones really get me, because it's like, you see that personal interaction with that higher force that's changing things. It brings it close to home, you know what I mean? Some of them is just for you, and when it's like that, you're like, wow, I'm noticed, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it feels really weird, and I accept it way more now. I always felt something was going on, whether it was seeing personality changes in close friends or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this is another personal one. I see a lot of changes on my Facebook recently, like more so of name changes.
Yeah.
And this one really bothered me. The one guy blocked me over it, and he was awake before. I said, oh, you now have an R in your middle name. And he's like, I always have. It's a God-given name. It would never change. Yet he was one of the awake people that would talk to me spiritually, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden he became aggressive. And without even saying a thing, he blocked me. And that seems to happen a lot. And another girl, I did art for her. She commissioned me, and her middle name was Lissa. Yesterday I was on Facebook, and all of a sudden it was Liisa. I stopped dead in my tracks. I looked at it. I couldn't believe what I saw. I ran to my art book, and sure enough, it still says Lissa for her name, where I wrote her down for what she wanted for like last year. It didn't change. So sometimes I feel like, is it a matrix and it's just a glitch? Are we like the best AI out there with consciousness? Like, what is going on? Because why is certain little teeny things not changing like that to leave that kind of personal residue?
Right.
Yet my grandmother's book changed big time.
That's just so
That's
wild.
where I keep digging. Yeah, I just keep digging because it's like I want answers. It's driving me nuts.
So where do you think things are happening soon? Like we've had a lot of talk about this Flash event happening soon, and Ascension within the next, I don't know, few years, if not hopefully this year.
Oh, I agree with I am Lazo on that. I do think it's around 3.5 years roughly. I do believe that. I do think there's a lot of revelations and things that will happen. I do, sadly.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's from like solar eclipse to solar eclipse, that 7-year period?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I really do. Because everything that I've been seeing, I saw just before it happened in my mind's eye. It usually happens just before I go to sleep. I'll get almost like a movie playing. I see it really clear. I can have my eyes open and see it really clear. But I literally saw a tropical, more warm place, and all of a sudden, just whoosh, landslides and houses and all this. And it's usually a few days to a week later it happens, and sure enough, it happened. And I just, my gut says yes. It really does. Sadly, that's, I want to be wrong. I would be great if I'm wrong, and I don't want to manifest something and cause it. But unfortunately, my gut keeps telling me that is where humanity's headed, and that everything from Dolores Cannon and all that, like there's been forewarnings. I really feel there has.
Mm-hmm. Then there's always the possibility, the way it seems like consciousness shifts and timelines and all that will experience, different people might experience different timelines. In fact, some people, I know Dolores Cannon in one of her readings said that she would be here for the ascension, or the harvesting, or whatever they want to call it, and now she's dead. So for her it might have already happened in her timeline, and for us it looks like she died. She's only dead to the physical, of course.
No, but is she? I looked her up and it doesn't say either or. If you look up some fan people talking about her, they say she passed. But if I looked her up herself and it still said she's alive, it's very confusing.
Oh yeah, you have to actually dig into, I think if you go to the About page, because this popped up a while back, and I was like, oh my gosh, is she alive? Because I was wanting to go see her. I was planning to go see her, and then I found out she died. I'm like, no. But then when I found out she was alive, I'm like, all right, I got to go see her before she dies again. You know what I mean? So I looked it up.
It's like the Billy Graham thing.
Yeah, really. So
I saw its funeral on TV. There was like coverage forever about him, and now all of a sudden he's alive and like 100. Okay.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
Oh, I have a question.
Sure.
Do you remember Jane Goodall?
The name sounds familiar. Who was she?
She worked with chimps and stuff like that, Jane Goodall? No? Well, in my timeline, as I like to call it, Old Earth, she was killed and like mauled, and head was, smashed by a chimp that she actually loved and cared for, and she died. And I looked her up, and she's alive.
What?
And
no, I remember,
like,
that's where I remembered her from, is from it being in the news that she died like that. It was the same way with the mauling by the tiger, the circus.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know those guys either.
About,
the two brothers, Siegfried and...
Yeah. Siegfried and Roy.
Yeah, the guy had died, and now he just got mauled but didn't die. And I'm like, that's not what happened. He clearly died. I remember them. It was just this.
Well, for me, I thought I heard he died, and then I'm like, oh, must have been a rumor because he's still alive. I dismissed that one, but he probably died in my timeline too. And this is even stranger, once again, because you're around the same age group as me. For Gorillas in the Mist, remember that movie?
I don't know if I've seen it before. I remember the title.
It has Sigourney Weaver, sorry, and her name hasn't been developed.
Oh, okay. I was wondering. I'm like, oh my God, did it change? Okay.
No. I just can't chew gum and talk.
That's okay.
Anyways, yeah, she literally played Diane Fossey in the true story with the poachers and her trying to save the gorillas and all that. It's a sad movie. But anyways, her name, because it's a true life story, has changed. It was Diane, and now it's lost the E. Now it's D-I-A-N, no E anymore. Wow. And whenever I posted on my personal Facebook and I said, oh, look at this, Jane Goodall's alive, a girl from the UK gave me slight poop on it. And she goes, you're just getting it mixed up with Diane, blah, 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 Fossey. And I said, no, I know the two different women. I know the stories. I know. And I posted Gorillas in the Mist. And as soon as I posted it, I looked and it said the true story of Diane spelt wrong from what I knew, Fossey. And I said, oh, and look, her name's been Mandela. It's like I found two effects in one day there for that.
Oh, wow. Another one that being that we're talking about people killed by animals, who was the one guy who got killed by a stingray? I wonder if he's alive again. Since
oh, no, he's not. No, Steve Irwin?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, he'll come back, but and everyone will say we're crazy for saying it.
Right.
He'll come back with a little tiny wound near his rib.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It never went into his heart, which would be great for Bindi or whatever her name is, the daughter.
I love watching videos really late and things have changed again. I was watching this one of a really big YouTuber, blonde lady. She was talking about the Mandela Effect stuff, and she's talking about Rice Krispies, and she's spelling it different than, like, she's saying what it is, but it wasn't that anymore. It changed again and to a C or K. I don't know what it is now.
I knew it as a C. Growing up, it was a C, and all of a sudden, when those Rice Krispie, pardon me, just getting over pneumonia. Whenever the Rice Krispies came out, those little bars.
Yeah.
You know how it was like the pre-made, dried-up bar things, and
yeah.
that our parents used to make, that type of thing. Anyways, it had a K, and I thought, oh, they just, they updated it type thing. But no, it's always had a K in this realm, and I literally knew it with a C.
And then the ending, it was either Crispy Treats or Crispy's Treats. And
yeah, it's
that
changed to
part
Crispy's Treats, I think.
Yeah, so one of those, I can't remember which it was, but she was saying it as it had changed to, but by the time I watched that video, it sounded like she didn't know what she was talking about. It was like, it's changed again. I left a message. I don't know if she ever hit it back, but other people were making comments to it. It's so funny that stuff changes, and then, like, I've got videos out there where I'm talking about the thinker with his hand under the chin, but now he's like sucking on the knuckles, so it looks like I don't know what I'm talking about now,
Yeah, I know, and I had a girl the other day, and she said the opposite. I knew head to the forehead, like the Arnold Schwarzenegger bodybuilding pose he named after the thinker, that's the way I knew it. She's saying that's the way it was for her last. Yeah, that's right. And now it went to the knuckles, but she had seen the fist under the chin first, where I saw covering the third eye, then I saw the fist under the chin, and now knuckles.
Yep, same way with
me. So that's what I mean by people coming in from other realities or whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? Because I can't dismiss it. It's just, there's too much.
Yeah. And the first flip-flop I saw was the one with Houston, we've had a problem. And that's what it was when I first discovered it. I'm like, was it Houston, we have a problem? And then when I went to show someone it had changed back, I'm like, wait a minute. Now I know it changed back. I wasn't sure about it changing the first time, but I'm positive now because I thought about it so long.
Yeah, it's flip-flopped. And what about, did you know the Cat Stevens version of Cats in the Cradle?
Cat Stevens. Yeah. Is it not him doing it anymore?
No, Harry Chapin is like the originator, and then it was Cat Stevens, and I know because my ex-sister-in-law played it at her wedding, and I just know the song off by heart. It was very popular, and then Ugly Kid Joe covered it in the 90s, so I know it very well. Pardon me. And all of a sudden, it's no longer. It never happened. But if you type it into YouTube, Cat Stevens, Cats in the Cradle, you'll find people tagging it as that, but you play it, and it's Harry Chapin. And yeah, and then another song that disappeared from history was Frank Sinatra, and I know he did it with Bono as well. Like Bono did like a weird compilation with him back in, this would have been about 96. Yeah, around 95, 96. And it was It's Just Too Good to Be True. You know that one?
Yeah.
Can't Keep My Eyes Off of You. it doesn't exist. But if you type in Frank Sinatra, I believe it's called Can't Keep My Eyes Off You, you'll pull up people saying, here's Frank Sinatra singing it, and people are mad in the comments. They're like, this isn't Frank Sinatra, this is Ricky Valli. You don't know, where's that version I like? I can't find it. And sure enough, I looked, and he never recorded it.
Oh, wow.
So that one's missing from history, too. So I found a couple songs that I knew so well that are gone.
Yeah, and then there's some songs, and then it gets mixed in with songs that people have really mistaken over the years for different people. And then they're like, oh, this is the same thing happening there. So there is certain cases of what they claim the Mandela effect is. Those things really do happen sometimes, where a band sounds like another band, and then it just gets, labeled that way. But when it really happens and it's a true Mandela effect, people assume it's that same thing happening, and it really isn't, because with a band sounding the same, I don't know, it's just, you can see why so many people would misunderstand it the same exact way. But when you're talking about the pose of a statue or something like that, why weren't people thinking he had it along the side of his head by his ear or something? Why do people remember it at the third eye? Everybody remember it to the forehead. Why would people remember it the same wrong way if it was just a misremembering?
Exactly.
It's not a good explanation.
Do you remember Reese peanut butter cups ever with a C, not an S?
No, I don't think I do. It seems like
I do. I remember it changing to an S, and I thought, oh, I guess, because S, Reese, an S sound.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was a label change. Kit Kat I saw in about 2013 without the dash all of a sudden, and my daughter noticed. She was mad about that one. That was her favorite chocolate bar. How dare they change that logo? But yeah, so like there's certain things I can't dismiss because it's engraved. It's part of our childhood memories, our own personal history. So you can't help but to feel a little insulted that it's gone.
Right. And I think we have our favorite candy. Like Kit Kat wasn't my favorite candy bar or treat, but it was for a lot of people. So when they'll notice those changes. Like for me, I love now or laters. So for it to be now and laters now, and there's no doubt in my mind it was now or laters when I was a kid. I don't know when it changed, but and Funyuns, I loved Funyuns. I would always eat them on trips. But now it's got the Y in it, and I'm like, it did not have a Y.
I saw the Y. The Y, I was like, why is there a Y?
Funny uns, it looks like.
I saw that one change too. Yeah, I got sick off those. I ate too many one time. So I will never forget that there was no Y.
And I didn't like onions when I was a kid, but I loved those. And, I just remembered it being Funyuns, spelled like onions with fun in front of it. So there was no doubt for me.
Me too. Yeah. Now, I notice you and I have a lot of the exact same, like when I watch your little quiz of which is which for you, and you know what I mean? And I was like, yep, I'm the exact same as you.
That's like just the age thing. I notice a lot of people are in that. The largest majority seems like they're in the mid to late 30s up into their 50s and 60s and stuff if they're paying attention. But a lot of those people just aren't online and watching videos to see it. But I think if they were quizzed, they would notice a lot too.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think it literally comes down to, it feels like some people. I look at it this way, and the best way I can describe it is if you take the soul, and the soul's a mirror, and you drop that mirror, and it shatters. Some pieces are going to be bigger, some pieces are going to be little shards. I feel like some of these people that, sadly, I knew and loved that have shifted and become aggressive and nasty and don't want to hear it, and, those type of people, the ones that feel like they're all the negativity that could possibly be in one person balled into one person, literally, and there's no empathy, love left in them, would be like those little shards. And the bigger shards of the mirror would be someone like, for instance, you and I, where we're more like light workers. We see, we want to help, we want to connect with people and help people. We don't want negativity, we don't want to hurt or harm anyone, would be like the bigger pieces of the mirror. So I feel like if you look at it as ascension, and if we're ascending and plus our higher self and trying to connect eventually to our higher selves, then that would be like the biggest piece of the mirror, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
So I feel right now like I'm a bigger piece of that mirror that broke. I've taken all my lessons, I've repeated things, I've learned from it, And now I don't want to cause, if somebody punches you and you're a kid, you kind of want to smack back. I was bullied really bad, but I never did, right? At least in this reality, I never did. I wish I had fought back sometimes, but I never did. And I almost wonder if that's what helps keep that part of the soul shifting, but in a good sense. And we pick up those lessons, and I feel like John Coffey sometimes, like I got to spit out that negativity and not let it affect me, because if it starts to affect me, I will get sad, and I may need a quick cry, but then I got to meditate and dust myself off. But I feel like we're like that mirror, and we're just a bit bigger pieces of the soul.
I think that's a good analogy, yeah.
Because I'm running into a lot of people lately that were really close that are no longer, sadly, I feel like they left without me. They're not that same, like my parents and that. They're just, my dad never really was close, but my mom and I were closer, and now she isn't, sadly, she's not the bigger piece of the mirror. She's colder, she's dismissive. I don't push anything on her because I believe we can't wake people up if they're not ready. You just can't. You know what I mean? So I don't force it on anyone. Occasionally I'll ask a question if I feel like they say something that triggers, hey, that's from the old earth, it doesn't exist, I'm going to mention it to them. And if they're like, no, weird, I don't push it. They're not ready.
Yeah. And I think that's a big part of it. That's why it seems like it's designed in to be subtle for people. If they're not ready, they can blow it off, or they seem to lose interest with it. And some people see that as mind control, like they're being mind controlled, but I can equally see it the other way, like there's a gentleness to it that if it's too much for them, because for a lot of us, we feel like it really pushed us to the limit when we really freaked out at first, when we saw it was really happening. And some people might not be able to get over that hump to realize could be a good thing, because I think it is. I think it's all these people. Look at the chat room. It's like all these loving people coming together. They don't have anybody in their real life that they can talk to about it, really. But they
I know, and that's why I
and
created the group.
Yeah.
And anybody that's interested, it's Mandela Researchers on Facebook. And literally, I just want people to have this safe haven where even if they don't have the same memories, all they need to say is, no, for me, it was always that way. Instead of no, always. That's kind of my one. I have little rules, but it's just kind of like that, because I feel we all need to come together, learn, and anyone that wants to learn and see changes are more than welcome, because we need to have this type of enlightenment. People that all have the same kind of mindset. They're curious, but they also don't have any ill will towards people and all that. We just want to learn together.
What is your is it Mandela Effect Researchers on Facebook that you
Yeah, it's Mandela, the Mandela Effect Researchers.
Okay, because I wanted to talk. Do you remember it had changed to have an S on the end, and then changed, and then you had to change it back, right?
I did a poll, and people were like, yeah, it wasn't that. Why did it change? But then a guy that I had been talking to for a year now that's affected, and he said, I didn't want to say anything, but your name had 2 R's in it. I said, that threw me. That kind of upset me a little bit. I wasn't mad at him, but I had that kind of like, ooh, really? Ooh, oh no, was the other one nice? Like, was that other Kiera or whatever that was she mean? And he's like, no, she was a little bit more, I think he said reserved, like wasn't as open to talking, friendly, but not as like all out there, because I'm very outgoing. And I did a survey. And there was only maybe, it was small, it was only like 10% of people were like, yeah, I remember 2 R's and it definitely changed. And I was like thrown, because it's always been Kiera T Winters, so that was really weird for me. And then you wouldn't believe what synchronicity happened. My aunt, Hazel, sends me a card, and it's addressed to myself and my daughter, and she spelt my name with 2 R's.
What?
2 R's. I have it. I'll send you a picture.
Oh my God.
I was so thrown. I thought, okay, well, she's getting older, I opened up the card, and it was spelt wrong in the card as well. It really upset me. That one upset me, because it came from, it's one thing to have, somebody that you've just talked to online occasionally about Mandela effects for a year that may have got you mistaken with someone named Sierra, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For 2 R's. Like, and to have an aunt that you've known your whole life, you know, I'm 46, and she sends that, and it says, Kiera. She spelled my daughter Trinity right, but she got me wrong. It kind of hurt. And I did a survey on my actual, like just my Facebook page itself, like my personal one.
Mm-hmm.
And I belong to other groups that have nothing to do with Mandela. And a girl goes, yeah, you had 2 R's last week. Oh God, don't tell me that. So
that's
to
wild.
me, that's just...
But I was
Yeah,
actually talking about
and
the group name having the S on the end of it when I
yeah,
first.
yeah, I know. Yeah, it
Yeah,
did.
that's
All of a sudden it had
just...
an S. And I was like, why is there an S? There was never an S.
Yeah, that's so weird. And then your actual personal name changes. Oh, I've often thought that if somebody came to me and was like, your name used to be Robertson or something, and my name's Robinson, I would probably tend to believe them if enough people said it. The way everyone else's names
Well,
are changing.
it only would make sense if it is if we are infinite, like I believe, and infinite changes such as Oscar Mayer and Mayer and Reba McIntyre, then why wouldn't there also be a Kiera, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or even a Shane Ribinson. You know,
Exactly.
there really could be if we're infinite. So I kind of have no choice when I've even seen, you've talked to her, my friend Carmen Walters.
Hmm.
It's Walters now, and it was Walters with an A when I first met her. And she had no problems with it. She checked into it, and she did a survey too. And sure enough, other people, such as myself and like a fair bit of others, remembered it with an A. You know, just as
Yeah.
lovely with an O. She was just as lovely with an O, but the A was gone, and it threw me. So why couldn't there be tons of versions of all of us? And if we're intermingling and our consciousness is rising and ascending, we could be just going over to that other avatar. And when my hands changed, by the way, that was during the day I noticed, because I was carving and working away, and all of a sudden I stopped and I looked at my hands and I went, what? The knife isn't fitting. It feels different. This feels weird. And I looked, and it threw me. I knew my hands had thumbs lower. And when I went to wake up my daughter for school, I was like, hey, honey, a new Mandela effect just happened. And she's like, what? And I said, our thumbs have changed. She opened her eyes, and she goes, oh. And then she looked at hers, and she said, oh, God, I don't like it. So she noticed right away, too. And I had that little, like, burst of, okay, I'm not totally insane. And I did a survey in my group, and sure enough, people were like, whoa, yeah, oh, my God, it is lower.
Oh my
Musicians and
gosh.
artists, they notice. People that do computer graphics and put their hand on the mouse all day long. We're like, yeah, it feels different. It's definitely lower. This is freaky.
That's wild. I
It's
can
hard.
totally look at it and see it look different, but I'm equally as surprised that I didn't notice until now.
You didn't notice till now? Oh, great. I woke you up to it.
If the link didn't work in the chat for Mandela Effect researchers, try the one in the description I added. There's actually one in the description box you can add. I'm not sure. It looks like it's cutting it off in the chat for some reason. Yeah, it's cutting it off partially. But if not, you can look up the Mandela Effect researchers. I should add the in front of there.
Yeah, I made it a complicated name. But I thought that was kind of interesting because I remembered when you said, when I sent you a list of name changes, and you said, Kiera from Mandela Effects researchers, that was kind of the cue right there that something's up. And when I saw
Right.
it did change, it's like, what? When did that happen?
Yeah, I had to keep telling myself, don't forget the S on the end, because it seemed natural to be the other way, but I didn't want to miss,
Oh no, to me that's a tongue twister. That must have been the double R Kiera that did that. I'm gonna have to have a talk with my other self, because what is that about?
It's so wild to imagine we have other selves going around, isn't it?
Well, when I've talked to so many people with personality changes that are way too drastic, I have to kind of accept it. And seeing the name changes in my news feed, I accept that there's got to be. I think we're infinite. I really do.
Yeah.
Can I prove it right away that it's not just some kind of glitch in the matrix where names are changing? No, but if we truly are souls that I believe we are, then there you go. We got to be infinite. There's got to be pieces of that mirror all over the all over the realms.
I sort of imagine, and I mentioned this before, but that we could possibly be removed from our body and it put on autopilot. And,
Oh, I think so. I
I
do. I
mean,
think
it's,
that's why some of these people um, have almost like, pardon me, almost like a setting so
yeah,
that they have an automatic answer of it always was. What can we do about it? That's weird. Or must have changed it. Oh well, because those seem to be the top, the top responses when you go to show them. Hey, Dolly's braces are missing. That's weird. Really? It's only just weird to you?
and then some people never look. You can tell them, but they're so sure of what it was that they don't look because they know for a fact it was that way, and you can't get them
Mm-hmm.
to go look, and it's so aggravating. Someone left a comment on Guy Fawkes Scott. He had done this. He showed this message board where somebody was talking about the braces, and the guy that was arguing that the Mandela effect isn't real says, "I had braces at the time. I know she had braces. She didn't have metal teeth like Jaws," and he thought that's what he was saying. She used to have metal teeth, but now she has braces, and he was confused about it. But he never went and looked, or he would have realized because he had that node, that memory node, because he had braces when he first saw it. But he never went and looked. So what do you do when people won't go look? Another channel, she was saying how the Mandela effect is ridiculous, and I mentioned some of the Bible changes, and she was talking about new versions. She recognized the changes I was telling her, but she wouldn't pull the Bible off the shelf in the background of the video. I'm like, just grab the Bible behind you and look it up, But she never did because she never has mentioned it.
I I am somewhat spiritual, and I got yelled at, told that God's word would never change, and blasphemy and blah 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 at me, like really mean, like got really nasty with me. That I there was a special place in HE double hockey sticks for me because how dare I challenge God's word? And I'm like, no, it has changed. You need to look. And that's when I stopped. I don't, pardon me, force the issue on people. They either will see it or they won't see it. I like to try. If I see that they have those old retained memories that don't exist for this world,
Yeah,
but as soon as they start getting negative, I drop it.
yeah,
It's kind of, it's harder when it's family and close friends because I have lost a lot along the way, but it's worth the shot to at least mention. Oh, and there's residue. Did you see the commercial? There's I remember it was from like the 80s or something, and Jaws goes up to pay with I think a Visa, and the girl smiles at him and she's got like braces, and that's kind of like the
oh,
little. Yeah, it's
wow,
like the little. I can send you the link. It's like the little ode to to Dolly, and I mean that's what made it so cute was her lifting that and saving him, and he smiles, and when she smiles, the braces gleamed, and
yeah.
like there's fake video, CGI'd video out there of it that unfortunately isn't really residue because it's been faked, but
It
that's the
doesn't
way it
even look
was.
like the original one. The original, they looked real gaudy in her mouth compared to that fake one that
Hmm.
they did.
Yeah, now she's got like Invisalign,
Yeah.
like perfect.
Yeah, definitely send me that link. And every time that I see residue like that, I'm like, finally. And then I realize, oh, they'll just say that's what you're remembering when you think Dolly had braces. And it's got that double-edged sword effect with residue. Whenever you find residue, it's also serves as the purpose people are misremembering for the people that don't want to realize it. So it's like,
Exactly. I find it's kind of a slap in the face to those of us that are awake and wanting to know and help others to make mocks of it and fake
yeah,
and say, hey, haha, oh, we got you. Oh, you're just, oh, there was never a Shazam, this, that, the other. And it's like, well, if I had to watch the junkie movie and I know it existed, it existed, okay? I don't care what Sinbad says. This version of Sinbad just wasn't in it,
right,
you know?
definitely.
It's one of those things. There's been so many changes too with electronics and TVs. I mean, what was the point of in Back to the Future of him saying, "Oh yeah, sure, I got like 4 of those TVs, one in the kitchen and one in the," and they're like, "You have how many TVs?" And this is new, and are you rich? And all, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now TVs have been around since, oh, I think it was like it was ridiculous. Let's put it that way. It was around like before my parents were born, I think, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's weird. And then to see like when he first goes back into the past, he you can see the J.C. Penney in the background, and I was
Hmm.
looking real close, thinking it was going to be the old way. And it was like so creepy when it's changed. You're like, oh my God, there it is, the new way. Just creepy.
You know, that movie has so many Mandela, pardon me, Mandela effects for me that drives me nuts. I saw it in theaters, and it's one of my favorite trilogies, so I've seen it more than anything. And I went to introduce it to my kid, and I was like, oh, you guys see this movie? And when I saw the blue Volkswagen, I'm like, that's not the van. I have now seen 3 different vans. 3. There was like a beige Toyota thing. Then there was like this white junky one. I have pictures of them. And then there was the one with everyone talking about the symbol changing on the Volkswagen, blah, blah, blah. Those are all 3 different ones. And then there's a scene with the guitar at the beginning. I've seen a red one, a black one, and now there's like a little yellowy gold one he's playing.
Yeah, a really odd shaped one. It's so funny, and I saw both of those shapes. I forgot what channel did a multiple choice on it, and I was like, 2 of those look familiar to me. I didn't even realize that, because I guess I watched it so much. That's why I know people that don't take a break from a movie won't see the change, because you see the new change and you just assume it just gets overwritten, you know? It's like, because who thinks something impossible changes in a movie? You're just going to think you remembered it wrong if you don't realize the Mandela effect is. Well, that's how I am anyway. I know a lot of people realize the changes, but for me, if I see something different, I just assume I remembered it wrong. And gosh, it's just so crazy, because a lot of people read their Bible and then they read the new way and they overwrite their memories of how it was. So it's a good thing I stopped reading the Bible a decade ago. And I read it like dozens of times. So.
Or E.T. Phone Home. I knew for a fact it was E.T. Phone Home. And it really bothered me when that one switched. And I only just noticed that one switched about 5 years ago for me. And then when Laszlo and I were filming in Toronto, we took a break and went to a movie theater. And they have like all these tiles painted with famous movie lines. And I looked down and I was like, look, E.T. Phone Home. And he's like, oh, residue, you know. And then it had like life is like a box of chocolates and other things on the, I think it even had bigger boat, but it had like all these different things that are Mandela effects on the tile floor. And what were we doing in Toronto? Filming and interviewing people for Mandela effects.
Wow.
So it was like synchronicities.
Did he get a bunch of pictures of the tiles, or?
Oh, I took pictures. I have, I can send you. Yeah, I have pictures of it.
I need to.
Of course, he filmed it too.
Do you have most of these on your Mandela Effect researchers?
Oh, we got tons of pictures. I mean, people just need to go through photos. There's so much information there. And if anything is debunked, and see, that's why it's called Mandela Effect Researchers, is because I even have a rule of check it out. If you're like, oh, this logo's changed, go check and see the logo history. If the logo history just changed it recently or within the past few years, there's a chance, I'm sorry, that's not a Mandela effect, you just didn't notice. I'm not trying to be mean, but you know what I mean? It's an actual logo change, not a name change or whatever. So that's why I put a kibosh. If I see somebody post something and I look into its history and it always has been that, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And then there you go. There's a Mandela effect if you know and can find residue or whatever. But whenever it sits there and says, yeah, we just changed that a few years ago to an M or whatever, then it's not a Mandela effect. Therefore, the research proves it, and we get rid of it. We say, okay, guys, this isn't a Mandela effect, and then we dismiss it like it's out of there.
That's what's
we want
so trippy.
Only true Mandela.
Like, yeah, when you look at the Volkswagen logo, and because I thought they just added that line in there, and then you see the history of it, and it's like, holy crap, it's always had the line. I know it didn't always have that line, because I didn't know it was a V and a W, you know?
Exactly. I know. Same for me. That and Camaro, I've seen Camaro and Camaro, like I've seen with an A, and I have seen with an E. So I've seen that switch back and forth over the years. My dad detailed cars, like his show cars.
Yeah. And
I remember, and this would have been like very early 90s, like maybe even 91 or so. He was detailing, and I would help him, the pink Thunder Chicken, as we called it, the Thunderbird. It's a 57. I'm sitting down there, and I'm helping him throughout the week getting this car show ready. And then I went back to help him, and he goes, oh, just do this and clean the logo off or whatever, the decal. And I saw pig swirl, the little tail, the curly Q on the Ford.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought, oh, he switched I thought my dad just switched it, because he was always doing stuff like that anyways. And I dismissed it. And it wasn't actually until last year when somebody mentioned the Ford logo change that I was like, oh, come on, I've been sitting on that one for how many years?
Yeah.
It was just wild for me.
That is wild. And for me, it was like I remember drawing the Camaro as a kid, you know, because boys love Mustangs and Camaros, and I would draw them all the time, and I would always have problems remembering how to spell it. And I remember to just spell it like camera with an O instead of an A at the end. And that's how I remembered to do it, because I could always remember how to spell camera. So camera with an O at the end, but that's not right anymore. And you can look up tattoos and see people that have it tattooed. You know, even the old Chevy emblem with all of the bow tie completely shifted, all the angles shifted, instead of the center being upright like it is now. And it's like funny when you see a tattoo because you can't really fix it.
You can't.
You know what I mean?
I find a lot of good residue in tattoos. The Playboy Bunny Ear, I've seen it switch. It was, the ears were straight up, and now then it went to, the one ear went a tiny little bit of a bend. And I can find residue now with the bend in tattoos and some knockoff logos for the Playboy Bunny.
Yeah.
But it switched back again to ears straight up. So that's a flip-flop for me.
Oh, wow. Now, I know the Playgirl was different, wasn't it? Didn't it have like a really bent ear?
No, the Playboy, I know what you're talking about, but the Playboy logo itself was the one I'm talking about.
Oh,
I didn't check into the Playgirl. I better do that. But the Playboy Bunny one, obviously I didn't have a subscription. The Playboy Bunny one, though, it was definitely, I've seen it flip-flop from straight up to down. And a lot of people remember Hugh Hefner dying like 5 years ago or whatever. There's even residue in a South Park episode with dead celebrities.
But yet he's died recently again, didn't he?
Yeah, and that's really wild because, you know, for a lot of us, he died like 5 years ago. And all of a sudden, he was alive, and it's like, Same with Jerry Lee Lewis, and then all of a sudden, it's like, by the time I notice they're alive and I'm telling people, hey, you know, Carol Channing, she's alive, and they're like, no, she died. No, she's alive. And they're like, oh, it must have been a hoax. No, because there was like Entertainment Tonight, which I used to watch. They had like coverage of famous celebrities and their deaths and stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm really
And
waiting
it's
on
like,
a big name like Michael Jackson or Prince to come back, you know? And I think...
oh, if you look into conspiracies with Dave, we never know. Michael Jackson could indeed be alive, and so could Bowie. There's a lot of weird conspiracies and evidence that you can't quite totally, kind of like the flat earth thing. You can't say no, but you can't say yes yet. It's really weird.
Right.
You should check into that if you ever want to research something. Check into the conspiracy with David Bowie still being alive and doing an interview undercover as a record producer. Because, yeah, it does look like him, and the eyes kind of look like him. It's creepy.
Oh, wow.
They say it's because they wanted to escape the Matrix. Their contract was up. They were good. That's like the theory.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I guess, shoot, I can't believe how long it's been. I've been having a blast talking to you.
Yes, I think I've taken up your whole night, and I hope the chat room had fun. Hope everybody's doing great, and lots of love and positivity to everybody.
44 people having a blast.
Yay,
So
44!
awesome. Yeah, you can actually hop in the chat if you want, and like I said, you guys, I did add her, the Mandela Effect Researchers on Facebook group. Link is in the description box now, and I'll paste it in the chat again. Oh, no problem. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will want to contribute or at least look at what's already going on there. Lots of pictures and stuff.
Oh, we post every day, and we try not to have repeats, so we don't have a lot of Berenstain Bears or Fruit Loops. We really don't.
Okay.
We post new effects all the time. We post when flip-flops happen to make people aware, stuff like that.
Yeah, Jamie brought
and
up
lots
clones.
of new animals.
I think we might have clones.
I wouldn't doubt it.
You know, a lot of celebrities just seem way different. You know, maybe they got older and they seem different, but I even saw Eddie Murphy in an interview not too long ago. I'm like, man, he even seems different from what I remember him, but I don't know.
Is it a different parallel Eddie Murphy?
Right, exactly.
It could be. I think David Chappelle, though, I think he's a clone because he does not look the same, sound the same, and his viewpoints.
Yeah. I had that same thing with him. I heard him on the radio the other day, and I was like, this is him? You know, I could kind of hear him, hear the original voice, but it seemed different, definitely. Oops, did I lose you? Oh, I think I might have lost. I hope not. You are now connected. Oh, I guess we disconnected. Well, we were ending it anyway. So I do really appreciate Kiera coming on. And like I said, her link is in the description. Was somebody else wanting to do a quick call-in? MEKD, you have to call in with Messenger, and that's really the only way. I don't even have a phone I can use, or it wouldn't even be connected with the computer. So if you're not friends already, you can join me on there, and I will accept it, and you will be ready for the next time around. But I do appreciate each and every one of you guys. Let me look in the chat and make sure I'm not missing anything. Josee, did that link work for you in the description? Were you able to get that working? Okay. If Kiera gets into the, if she's able to get into the chat, I will give her a wrench and she can post her link in there in case maybe I did it wrong or something. You want to say? Alright, hold on, let me see if I can pull you back into the... Are you there?
I am.
Oh, let me kill my camera because it's... Yeah, it's got me at 100% there. Alright. So yeah, just for signing off, were you able to use that link okay? Hey, Party Puppy.
Yeah,
High Anxiety,
it
David
worked.
Morris, so many of you guys. Big shout out Zark, good to have you here. Salted Cedar, always a pleasure. Let's see, Kevin T, Ben, Ant Dog, Super Champion, Our Universal Consciousness. For you guys that don't know, that's John from the call before last. If you want to go check out his channel or subscribe. Zark has a channel. Josee has a channel. Pretty much most of the people in here have a channel, so you guys should go and share each other's, join each other's channel. And so how was everything in the chat? Were you everything cool, Josee?
Yeah. Just at the end, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, good. Yeah, just towards the end, I would like you guys to try and respect each other in the chat room. Not
Oh,
everybody comes from the same beliefs, but our heart is all the same. We are love, we are one, and there's no need to fight over stupidity or over beliefs, over anything, you know, like here is unconditional love for everybody.
definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, and everybody's not going to think alike. In fact, we're not all clones of the same. You know, on that first Matrix movie, how Mr. Smith, there was just a bunch of repeats. That would be a really boring world if we were just all
Yes.
carbon copies of each other. So let's appreciate the differences. Let's appreciate the differences in race and culture, in religions, and we can learn to let people believe what they want to believe. We can believe what we want to believe, and love
And
them the way they are.
love them for who they are, no matter what.
Yeah,
That is our job. We have to love everybody, everything, no matter what.
that's right.
No judging.
Yeah, that's so true. I've often wondered, in the middle of a natural disaster like when 9/11 happened and all these strangers are helping each other, or, when the hurricane hit Houston and all of these times like that, you never see people running up and saying, "Are you Christian? I'm going to pass you up for this Christian over here. Sorry." You know what I mean? It's just, think about it like that. It's just sort of ridiculous to treat someone different because they have a different viewpoint. When it comes down
I
to it, we're all people, you know, in all our
Yeah, I
varieties.
think it's ridiculous because, like, I have friends from every walks of life. I have friends from every religion, and the heart doesn't see, like if you love people for who they are, you don't see that. That's just superficial to me. Like
Exactly.
go deeper. Don't stay on the surface. Go deeper.
And your love might win them over, right? But your hate isn't going
Exactly.
to win them over. So if
No, not at all.
if you've got a religion and you're trying to feel like you want to proselytize people into your religion, the worst thing you can do is to down them for the decision that they've made to be in whatever worldview they're in. I
Yes,
heard that
it's
about the car. A car salesman never wants to put down the person for the car they drive in with, because if they made the choice to buy that car that they're driving in with, then perhaps they're going to make the bad choice on their next purchase, which the guy's trying to get them to do, right?
exactly.
So people choose what they choose for whatever reason. Maybe they were born or raised in that religion or belief system, and maybe they're not ready to let go of it yet. So just love them how they are, you know?
Yeah, it's like my sister, she's a hardcore Christian. And when I told her about the,
Did you disappear on me? Hello? Uh-oh.
she loves me for who I am, not for what I tell her, because we are still, like sisters.
Yeah.
And I love her. She loves me. She doesn't see the same way I do, and that's fine. And I'm not pushing it on her, you know.
Yeah.
I love you guys.
Yeah, we love you guys. Be nice out there. Hug somebody. Love somebody.
Yeah, let's all hug MEKD here. Let's
Here we
send
go.
her a
Let's hug.
bunch of love.
Mm.
MEKD, we love you so
Yes, you're
much.
not alone. All of us feel the same way, but we're here for each other.
Yes, we are.
So continue
Well,
to love, continue to keep those vibrations high, and we will be back soon.
yes, you guys have a good night
Have a good
or
night.
day.
Or, yeah, or day, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Enjoy it.
Yes.
Spread the love and the light to whomever you encounter.
Amen.
Amen. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good
Bye,
one.
guys.